Hey, autoimmune community, welcome back to the Invigorate Your Journey podcast. I'm your host, Karen Wagner. Today, I'm very excited to welcome our special guest. She has been such a positive influence in my life, and I'm excited to share her work and just her beautiful personality with all of you guys. So, professionally, she is an expert in women's empowerment and breathwork, and she founded Launch Your Life Coaching, which does workshops and one-on-one and group coaching, which we'll get into. But welcome, Elizabeth Soto-Baez. Thank you so much for being here.
Karen, I love you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to get into and learn more about what does breath work mean? How can it help? What does this look like? And maybe even do a short exercise with you. Um,
Yeah.
But before we get into all of that, you have a unique background, extensive experience. Can you just share about your kind of background and kind of how you got into coaching and where you are today?
Yeah, of course. The Reader's Digest version is I got a divorce and that was sad. And I
Yeah.
used that tumultuous time to make some new discoveries. It was a healing space. I kind of didn't come to that decision lightly. Oh my gosh. But once I made that decision, I realized that I could either stay stuck in grief and pain and sadness, or I could use all of those things to launch your life, into something beautiful and exciting and new and different. And I really allowed myself to make that choice. New and different things could be possible for me. And so I worked on coaching. I ended up supporting a ton of women while I was getting divorced, because they came out of nowhere and they're like, "Hey, tell me more about how you did this." And I feel that way, but I can't tell anybody. I'm really embarrassed and ashamed. And what if it's my fault? Just a lot of things that I hadn't realized that other women were experiencing. We tell ourselves this lie that we're the only ones that have these feelings or experiences, and we get ashamed to share them. But when you do share them, you realize that there are many other humans who have these same experiences. And so when I was brought into that, not by choice, it just sort of happened to me, that felt like a door, that felt like an opportunity to dive into the coaching world and not only be a student of the work, but also a client of the work. So that training also served to help me uncover stories and limiting beliefs and layers of myself that I didn't know were there. And while I was doing that training, which was phenomenal, and I've learned so much and I use it all in my coaching containers, I had a friend, a peer, who did breath work. She was a yogi and she did breath work, and we had talked about it. And I was like, "What is this thing you're talking about? I mean, everybody breathes, right?" And she was like, "Well, no." And I thought, okay, so I don't know
What?
something, right? So she was phenomenal. She gave me some techniques to help with stress and anxiety and sleep, which were things that were hard because I was still healing from my divorce. So I'm coaching and working and supporting humans, also being supported by humans in this process. She was one of them. She taught me a few different techniques, and I was like, this is amazing. I feel like I need so much more of this. And I was already in this space of, how else can I love and support humans? Because I just dove right into, how can I love and support humans? Because we need each other. Healing ourselves is healing the world. People should never feel ashamed for how they feel or their experiences. And how can I be a bridge for that for people? And so I dove in and got trained to be a breathwork facilitator. And I joined a 6-month program, and that was mind blowing. That training was unreal. And I learned so many more things than just how to do breathwork. And now I'm here in this space where I have these transformational tools that I use in all of my coaching containers to support women to become who you want to be, live the life you want to live, be alive while you are alive. right? And also the somatics, so the body work, breathing, feeling
Yeah.
into our body, using your breath to regulate your nervous system, which people don't know a lot about. And so now I get to use both of those tools in my containers and in my workshops and all the offerings that I have to be supportive. And it's amazing. It's a beautiful space. Yeah.
I have so many more questions.
I love it. Ask away. Let's do it.
This comes up a lot within the autoimmune space, that there's a couple moments we tend to really identify with. One, when you're first diagnosed, and then two, a lot of us type A personalities tend to, or can try to, ignore our diseases as much as possible and just live the life we had always envisioned. Always doesn't end well. It was my door when I was in a life-threatening situation where I was like, okay, I need to look into alternative solutions to figure out how I'm going to live better. You had mentioned your door opening, but did you have a specific moment or trigger, or was it just, did it build over time, that where you saw that door open, where, okay, there is an opportunity. I can either keep grieving this and be sad, or I can start moving forward?
This is such a good question. Like I'm scanning back in my memories when I think it was when you're saying, sorry, I'm like seeing all these things now. As you're saying this out loud and I visualize it, what I'm seeing is almost like a hallway with lots of doors. And this was a door. And then once I walked through, there was another door until I got to the end where I was like, this is it. And not that we ever
Opened.
arrive. We don't ever arrive.
Right.
There's always like things, but it was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is your soul's work. So when I asked for my divorce, and I tell this story and it sounds crazy, but it's so real. When I asked for it, literally like, hey, this is what's happening. This is that moment. I walked away from that conversation. It was the first time I could take a deep breath, like a literal deep breath. I was living with undiagnosed anxiety for over a decade. I actually went to see a cardiologist because my heart was doing things, right? Because when you have anxiety, your heart does stuff. I did not know this. And the
Yeah.
cardiologist thought it was a joke. They were so respectful, but no,
Oh,
they were so respectful, but it was like, so your heart is like textbook amazing, like so good. And I was like, I feel really excited about that also. So my heart does this thing that I don't know what it is. Like, now what do I
yeah.
do? And I know that a lot of people have this experience. Like the doctors are saying that everything's fine, but you're not really fine.
Yeah.
And so when I could take that deep breath, that was a door. I can breathe now. Something new is coming. So I walked through that door. And then when women started calling me like, hey, can you tell me your process? Like, how did this happen? That was a door. When I took the coaching trainings, that was a door. Until I got to this space where I was like, my gosh, this is what my heart and soul want to be doing. Until I got to that open space where I'm like, this is where you are being called to be. It's such a cool process. It takes a lot of courage and doing it scared, right? So I imagine, you get a diagnosis of an autoimmune and it's easier to ignore the fear and
Yeah.
move on and just like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to do what I do, until you suddenly cannot do what you do. And that's, I don't have the autoimmune personal experience, but that feeling of like, I'm just going to do what I do until suddenly you just cannot do what you do. That's how I knew I needed to end my marriage and walk through these doors. Because like I said earlier, we're very, very, very rarely, shall I say never, experiencing those feelings alone. Other people are having those feelings. The stories are different, the characters are different, the sensations and feelings are often the same.
Yeah. I feel super fortunate in whether Whether you experience a disease or an unfortunate divorce, in whatever the life event is, I feel thankful that I had to go through such a hard time so that I could walk through those doors. Because that time kind of forced me to reflect and look at kind of what was not working, and it really opened up a whole new lane, a whole new path. And you said there's different characters and scenarios, but at the end of the day, it's still a journey, and it's still that path that we all go through.
100%. And I love how you're identifying that once you hit this space, you had a choice to make discoveries and recognize how this could be good for you. And I don't like to use the word good because good and bad is so relative, but you took something that was so hard and you allowed that to change you. You allowed that to be a transformation and welcome in the beautiful parts of what's possible because of something that felt so terrible. And I love that. And that's, I think, what I do in my containers. Like, yes, a terrible thing happened. Let's grieve that. Let's be sad. Let's have our feelings. This is one of the things we do in breathwork. Like, it's okay to feel all the things that you feel because that's real stuff. Don't stuff it. Like, feel it. Also, we can use our breath to move that energy out and allow us to get back to a place of equilibrium where we're like, okay, I can think clearly now. What's my next move? And so breathwork really becomes pivotal in some of those high emotional spaces.
So breath work, I feel like, is another door for me. I have now heard of it. I've done a session with you. I've tried a couple podcasts, but from your experience and standpoint, how would you describe it or define exactly what breath work is?
So breathwork in essence is the practice of conscious breathing. It is bringing your awareness to breathing. Breath happens automatically, thankfully, because we can't think about breathing all the time. So it's actually the only system in your body where it's automatic and it will do it for you. Your body knows how to do it. But also you can decide how to do it. You can choose how you're going to breathe, shallow or deep, fast or slow, in your nose or in your mouth. And because we can choose how we breathe, when you practice it, it is breath work. It is the noticing and the movement of your inhales and your exhales. And it could be as simple as like, I'm having a moment right now and I just need to close my eyes and focus on my breathing. I'm not changing my breathing. I'm just focusing on what does it feel like to breathe in? What does it feel like to breathe out? That is all. And even that little moment can shift how your body feels and the stories that are in your mind. And now you and I had a session together, which was beautiful. And that can be a more in-depth choosing specific patterns and really having an intention and focus on the breath work. And that is another part of the spectrum of what breath work could be.
You mentioned anxiety. What other reasons do people come to you that breath work helps with?
So anxiety is probably one of the top things that I work on with clients, but I also have clients that come in that have unresolved trauma, stories or experiences that they can't seem to release. It's this the idea of like, I know what the right thing to do is. I know that what I'm believing is ridiculous, like so dumb. Also, my body can't let go of it. My body will not leave me alone about this thing. And so when we do breath work, we're allowing the body to kind of empty out that stuck energy, that stuck emotion, so that our thinking mind and our intuitive body are back in alignment. Because
Okay.
the body, so there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's the idea that when we don't work through our emotions and our feelings and our internal experiences, our body simply reserves that. It stores it in different parts of your body, in your muscles, in your organs. And so you feel those things. And it could be physical symptoms. It could be psychological symptoms, but it's all trapped in there, and the breath work helps to unlock that. And then the third thing that I've had happen kind of as a byproduct, because they usually come in for anxiety. I have a lot of ADHD clients that come to see me because the breath work, they're like, this is the only time I'm not thinking. I love it. Which is such a great, like, oh my God, I love that for you. But the byproduct has been, and this is really powerful for your community, is pain relief. They come in, they're like, my back has been hurting, or like I've had like a leg knee thing going on. I have one client who has rheumatoid arthritis who came in and was like, I forget what, it might have been her back, but she's like, my back has been hurting for like a week. We just did that session and I have zero pain in my back after a 30-minute call with you. And I'm like, this is so amazing. Like, I love that. And the relief of the pain is lasting. Like, it's been a few days and my back's so good. Which is beautiful. So the anxiety piece, so our thinking mind, we've got some traumatic pieces, stuck emotions, and then we've got physical pain. And those are kind of the three things that I generally see in my breathwork containers. Yeah.
The other thing that this has helped me with is just stress release and stress management, because I really rely on exercise and working out to work through that, but that's only one time a day. So it's like I needed something else for the other times a day. And this has been such a welcome relief just to like take that time and
Yes.
decompress. Yeah.
Yeah. So under the anxiety umbrella, I drop the stress, because usually we're stressed out because of our anxiety around something that we haven't done or needs to happen. But you're right.
Sense.
Yes, no, 100%. It's fascinating. I was listening to a book called The Language of Breath, which was really awesome because I'm also a speech pathologist. So it spoke to both of my professions, being a speech language person and also a breathwork person. And what they suggested, which was such a great image of it, is the breath is how you communicate with your subconscious. It's the language you use to communicate with the subconscious parts of you, to let the subconscious know we're safe. It's okay. We're good. And that's such a great way to picture it, because the reason we have anxiety and stress, the reason we get stuck in these spaces, is because our stories tell us how we're supposed to be. And usually our limiting beliefs and our stories aren't always healthy. They want to keep us safe always, but they're not always doing the job we need them to do, not on purpose. And so when we use breath work, we can communicate that we're actually safe. We get to alter the nervous system. So like, you pay attention to your breathing, you talk to your subconscious, you say, hey, we're not being chased by a lion. There's not imminent danger. It's okay. The problems or challenges don't go away, but how your body feels about them changes, which then gives you clarity in your mind and energy in your body to execute a solution or to finish out whatever it was that you were in the middle of. Because our brain, actually, this is kind of fascinating. Our brain can't tell the difference between a danger that is happening in real life and a danger that is in our imagination. And so if you're imagining a danger,
Crazy.
I know it is. So it's wild, and also like, use it to your advantage, right? Like, I'm anxious about this event that hasn't happened yet, may never happen, but my body is getting all riled up. My fight flight is on because I think something terrible is going to happen. I can say, you know what? Nothing terrible has actually happened. And we're actually okay. And we don't have to be feeling this way. And you use your breath to do that. And it's really cool.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. You have seen an experience where people have positive experience pain relief in as little as one session. How long do you typically work with clients? How many sessions?
It is really up to the client. because in
Okay.
between sessions, they can also cultivate their own individual breathwork practice, which a lot of my clients do. And I teach some of the self-led kind of breathwork stuff. Nobody that I work with does the type of intense breathwork sessions that you and I did, like a 30 or 60-minute session. But it really depends on what they need. And I do have one client right now who's been with me for like a year doing breath work every week on and off for about a year. And she has a lot of anxiety, like so many of us. She works in a toxic environment. And so she kind of is, and this is sort of like how life can be, right? Like, I know that I'm okay, but I keep going back into that environment that makes me not okay. And I can't leave that environment yet. So I need some tools to work through when I get wound up. And I think that's really what's been useful for her, is having these weekly hour-long sessions of just getting back into her body, releasing the anxiety, releasing the pain, the physical aches and pains of the stress that she's carrying. And she loves it and looks forward to it and is all about it. So sometimes it's just like, I love the sauna. I just like going. I don't have a cap on it, like, oh, I got enough sauna time, so I don't need to go back anymore.
Never.
No, I'm like, I love the sauna. I will always go to the sauna. It's not like a thing that I'm ending. And breathwork can be like that too. Like, it's not like I got my fill and I'm healed and better and I need to be done. It really is kind of an ongoing thing that most of my clients want and enjoy.
That makes sense. Like, it's a practice that you build and get better at it. And I love that, because especially within our community in the autoimmune disease space and within chronic illnesses, you're facing something that's likely not going to go away. Like, this is a lifetime journey. And having another tool in our self-care toolbox is just so critical, especially I wish I would have met you like 5 years ago or whenever I was going through. I went through a months long flare of insane joint pain, like so tough. I really could have used this breath work to work through that, because I know with my personality that I was tense and grinding through it, which was probably the exact opposite thing I should have been doing.
It's so
But
hard
hey,
though, right? Like
yeah.
when you're in so much pain, your body does tense up and it is hard to relax. Like that's challenging. I hear you. Yeah, breath work, it definitely would have served.
Yeah. Right.
It really does help to shift the energy in the body and the pain. And I love it, learning so much about it. The shifting in the oxygen levels and the carbon dioxide levels really does something beautiful to the body, allowing your body to do its own healing. I think that's something that we don't necessarily talk a lot about, but I've been swimming in this for a little bit. Like, our body is the most intelligent and sophisticated machine that has ever existed. There are parts of how our body and brain work that no one knows anything about. And when we do breath work, we are basically saying, I trust you and I believe that you know what needs to happen. And I'm just going to breathe and use the breath to move and do and be the things that my body needs right now to be better. And we struggle with that. We struggle with the beingness. We want to do things. And I'm a coach, right? We got to do things. Like, we have to take action to make things happen. So there is a space for the doing, but man, there really is a space for the being. And that's hard. And breathwork teaches us how to be in the beingness, so that our body can do stuff. Because our body knows.
As someone who always needs to keep moving, I like to say I'm doing the being. So I'm still doing something, but I'm being.
That just made my day. It's all semantics. You're playing a little brain game. I am doing the being right now. Hey, if
Right?
that
I
works,
got this.
that works for you.
Uh,
Yeah,
hey,
we're not good at being. It's a very
right.
hard thing to do. Also, absolutely worth the effort. 100% worth the effort to just allow yourself some space to just be.
Right. Even though we don't know all the science behind it, I do want to mention that the science is getting closer and we're understanding more and more about how those emotions and process all that within your body. Even though we don't know all the intricacies of it, there's enough evidence there to support the benefits of it.
Yes, it really. So I think they're really some of the more prominent breathwork facilitators are really putting themselves in spaces to get this research done because it really does work. And we have a ton of anecdotal data, and that's great. Like, anecdotal data is so important. Also, some people just really want numbers. Like, give me the hard, cold facts on all this stuff. And I appreciate them also. And I would invite them to a breathwork session so we can get your anecdotal data at the end of that, right? Because
Right.
sometimes it's like, I just have to experience it to get it. Even if you read all the research papers, like, you have to do it to get it. I read a book called Breathe by James Nesser. It's a great book. And in that book, what research is starting to uncover, which is fascinating to me, is that anxiety and possibly autoimmune disorders. And I'm not a medical, here's my disclaimer, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not here to diagnose or treat anything. I'm a speech pathologist and a breathwork facilitator. But the research is starting to uncover the possibility that these two conditions, anxiety and autoimmune, are actually connected to a disordered nervous system. And your breath regulates your nervous system. So if you're using breathwork to regulate your nervous system and its responses, you are giving your body the space to heal itself, to not have these profound experiences with autoimmune diseases and anxiety. And that blew my mind. I thought, my gosh, how many of us have dysregulated nervous systems?
I really wouldn't be surprised.
So many, so
Right.
many. And I thought, what a simple, free, accessible tool.
Hold up. I just had a crazy thought talking about anxiety. Unfortunately, Generation Z, the younger generations they have more anxiety than anyone. So sad. I'm reading a book called The Anxious Generation, which dives into why it's becoming so prevalent. I won't get into it now, but also autoimmune diseases. It's most common to be diagnosed in your late teens, early mid 20s, but it is becoming more common to be diagnosed earlier and earlier, and those diseases are dramatically rising the fastest within teens at triple the rate of any other segment. And I can't help but wonder, is there a correlation?
Again, I'm not a scientist and I'm not doing the
Right,
research on
me
that,
neither.
right? But we can zoom out and say, that's really curious how those two things are happening in tandem. What could happen if we supported teens and 20 somethings with anxiety in a way that is sustainable and accessible on a regular basis, i.e., breath work, meditate, yoga, movement? Would we see a decline in the prevalence of autoimmune, or would we see more people in remission? Would we see people being able to live with these conditions in a way that is sustainable and thriving? I mean, I want to say yes, but that could be a bold move. But
It could, but to your point, I think it's worth asking the question.
100%. And the clients that I work with who struggle so much with anxiety and struggle so much with the overwhelm of life in this season of humanity, having tools that are not Western medicine has been really, really, really important.
Yeah.
Because Western medicine is great and we need it. And I always joke, like, if I had another baby, I would get an epidural. But like what you said, you were on meds and it really wasn't impactful in the way that you had hoped it would be. And so can we make these natural tools? Can we make these types of accessible interventions available more readily so that people feel like they have many more options? Some people feel stuck. Like, I don't have a choice. I have to take these meds, however many. I'm 25, and these are all the pills I have to take every single day if I want to live my life. And that could feel really heavy. That could feel very like, I'm only 25 and look at what my life is like. Being able to use breath work, for example, as a way to not have to rely so much on these other things could be something that's really beautiful.
Absolutely. So that is, you just did the commercial for Invigorate, which is, I mean, that is why I started Invigorate. Is that I'm still very much on medication, still very appreciative. Western medicine saved my life multiple times, but I was not living the life that I could have been had I implemented some of these things sooner. That being said, it's still a work in progress. But right, but this breath work is all new to me, but it gives me hope that there are more doors, even though I'm already in a place where I'm feeling great and doing well, but there's still opportunity to even live a more fulfilled life. And that is how much, like, so hopeful, so optimistic, so just energizing. Like, it's amazing.
Thank you for saying that. Yes. And you're saying this, and I'm like, this is true for all humans, right? Yes,
Mhm.
yes, the autoimmune community, like, really important. Let's really support you. Let's love on you. Let's get you in a good place so your life is thriving in all the things that you love. This is really important. Also, just humans, like, let's get you thriving. Let's get you good
Right.
tools. Let's remind you of your own power and your own worth and your own value. Let's remind you that you always have choices. There are choices in this space. Sometimes we don't like the choices, and that is real, but there's always options and there are places to go. And I think Invigorate is a beautiful option for people in this community because it gives you choices, lots of them, to help you get to a good place. And when people feel like they have choices and they have access to tools, it is empowering. It is hopeful and exciting. And then we share our stories, right? And we share our
Yeah.
stories and say, this is what helped me. I bet this can help you. And we just create more ripples of healing and connection, which is so beautiful. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. For so long, I cared so much, and just like, let it go. Just do the work that you need to do. Your supporters will come with you, and the others won't, and that's fine. I love Michelle Obama was when she was interviewing with Oprah Winfrey. I know I'm throwing this out there, but she said some of the people that came along with her on her journey, eventually they ran out of oxygen because they just couldn't make the climb. Like that. It gives you a sense of release.
Yes. Right. Oh, that's a what a fitting metaphor for this conversation on breathwork.
Right.
Right. Some people are not going to be able to hang, and that's okay. It's not about you. You still do you. You still show up. You will find your people. They are there because you're never alone in your experience ever. Um,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful when you do find your people because
Right.
it's uplifting. And when it feels hard and heavy, you can connect with them to be supportive. And I love that. I make jokes about my therapist. I'm like, my therapist is the bestie I pay to hang out with me, but I love her. And she is 100% one of my people, right? Because we need them. We need our people. And I also, as a coach and a breathwork facilitator, it has been such an honor and it is so humbling to be one of the people that is in the journey with women who are like, I do want something better. And I do know that's possible. And I want to feel good in my body. And Liz is someone that is part of like my little bubble of people. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so humbled by that, because it's really a privilege to be one of those people. If you are one of those people for humans, it is a privilege to be that. There's beauty and like tenderness in that. I love it.
It's an incredible, wonderful place to be. When I was first learning about breathwork, I do all the things. You go online, you research it, is reading articles. Very much did the exercises on my own. I learned about box breathing. Got it. All good, But it really took my session with you to kind of truly understand what I needed to do, and having that guidance just really helped me get so much more out of it, where I think it helped when I did it on my own, but it was had nowhere near the impact that it did when we had our session.
Yeah, I think there's something really beautiful when you're facilitated in things. Being held by someone else in certain experiences can be so comforting and safe. And then implementing the tools. So, like meditation, I really like guided meditations because it feels
Me
nice
too.
to be held, even if it's a recording, like I feel connected, I feel held. When we do the breath work, that's really what's happening. I am energetically holding you. I'm listening to your body with you. I'm connecting to how you feel and your experience, which is bonkers, but totally is what happens. And so you feel that energetically. And then when we breathe together, and I'm usually facilitating, I'm not really breathing with you, but when we do that, the shift and the dynamic is so much more powerful because there's two of us doing it, which is why I love the facilitation. Yes, breathwork alone works. Like, go breathe. Like, it does. It works. It does. But when you're in a container and you're being held by a facilitator and they're channeling into your experience, it is exponentially more powerful. Yeah.
So can you use the word container? Can you say exactly kind of what that means for people who are unfamiliar?
Yeah. So container is just the idea of the space that we're in together, in the together space. When we do breath work, even online, like Karen and I, we did ours online. We're together in this space. This is our container. It's almost like we create a bubble of togetherness and energetic field. And that's the container that we're in together. And when we're in that energetic space, we're connected. It's almost like a loop of energy between the two of us. And what I've shared, I believe I shared this with you, Karen, and other breathers that I facilitate. I can feel things happening in your body because we're together in this space. So even though I don't know what it is, like I get sensations and feelings and emotions that come into me because in the container, we're experiencing the same stuff. And that is what allows me to really check in on you and offer and facilitate what you specifically need, which you wouldn't get if you were breathing alone.
Yeah, I love that visual. And then I'll also add, you use music. You should interrupt me, bounds, and how to cut me off, explain this part of it.
Yeah, so we create a setting, we create an ambiance.
Yeah.
It's an event. This is an event that we are in together. There is music, it's choreography. I use the music to create an energetic feeling, a movement. Some of the music's fast, some of it's slow, some of it is nature sounds, and all of it is creating this experience and this event for you while you breathe, so that as many of your senses as possible are being connected here. Some people like to use essential oils when they breathe. Some people like to use crystals when they breathe. It's just this event, this experience that you get to be part of. And the music helps us to get into that space. Now, I've also facilitated with no music, and that works too because the facilitation is always beautiful. But I really like it with the music. I think it helps people to like get into that energetics, the movement of the breathing. It feels good.
Do you have time to do
Yeah, I
some
mean,
exercises?
we could do a little quick drop in. I'm not with
Okay.
you, the listener, I'm not with you, so I'm not going to be able to do all the energy things, but we
Yeah.
can absolutely do like a 2-minute drop in. So if you are listening, um, you would need to be in a space where you're not distracted. So if you're driving, please do not engage in this activity with me right now. If you are handling machinery or if you're on a walk, sit on a bench. And what we can do right now, we could just drop in. So if it feels safe to you and you're in a safe place, you can close your eyes. And right now, we're just going to feel our natural breath moving, noticing how it comes in through your nostrils and out through your nostrils, feeling your seat and your hands, your feet on the ground, just breathing normally. Now, it's possible you're having a lot of thoughts right now because when we get quiet in our body, our mind seems louder, but that's okay. You can become the observer of that, recognizing that you're not your thoughts and continuing to just move your natural breath. And if it feels good right now, I'm going to invite you into a breath pattern called a halo active breath. This is a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. When we breathe in this way, we're expanding our belly, our rib cage. Your belly should go out when you are inhaling and then contract back on the exhale. I'm going to give you a moment to breathe in this way on your own, dropping into your breath anytime thinking is happening. Now, if it feels good as we wrap it up, you can bring a sigh to your exhale to release any residual energy or any stuck spaces. Beautiful. If it feels good, you can give your hands or your legs a little wiggle or shake. Dropping the halo breath pattern, noticing what's present right now in your body, what may have shifted, and then when you're ready, opening your eyes, taking your time, no rushing.
It was
Like, I'm going to take a nap right now. This is why
so relaxing. I just ruined it for everyone who is in a good, peaceful moment.
No, that was okay. It is relaxing. So good. Thank you for letting me do that.
Thank you for doing it. So let's share with the community what our plans are. With the
I
I
know.
dropped it on you.
I'm like, wait, we have plans. I love plans. I'm excited.
There is a webpage at invigorateyourjourney.com/breathwork. I will put the link in the show notes. We encourage you to sign up for a free workshop that Liz is so kind to be offering our community. It's just a easy, nice, simple, safe space to kind of get a feel for this world and experience it. You've heard me rave about it up until this point, so I won't say too much more. Again, just from that little 2 minutes, just the kind of release has helped me tremendously throughout my day, kind of just manage stress and anxiety. And I strongly encourage you to try it. Liz,
Yeah.
is there anything else you want to add?
So many good things today, Karen. So,
Yeah.
I would love for you, listener, to join the workshop. I also have a freebie for you. So the workshop is
Awesome.
free. I want you to come hang out. I got some things for you. In the meantime, I would love to share with you a free 10-minute downloadable breathwork session. So you can have this experience we just did together, but for 10 minutes, you and your breath. It is amazing. It feels so good in your body. I would love to give that to you to just try it out and have your experience, but absolutely come and join us at the workshop. I'll be sharing a little bit about breath work and expand a little on our conversation today, Karen. And then actually, we're going to do a longer session. So you don't want to miss it. You want to come for the longer session. So I'm excited about that, Karen. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so the freebie will be available on that webpage as well. So make sure to check out the website and then you can get that freebie and then sign up for the free workshop. So all sorts of good things.
So fun.
Liz, thank you so much for doing this and being here and being a part of my people. You're such a bright light in my life, and I'm so thankful that I randomly met you online in a networking event. But that's how things work. That's how these things work. So it's been just amazing, and just thank you again.
It has been such a joy to be here with you, Karen. I'm glad we connected too, and I'm excited to keep working together. So thank you.
All right. Invigorate community, take care of yourself, and we will be in touch soon.